Okay, so this is part 2 of learning to do AC analysis with bipolar transistors. Where we had left off last time was with this circuit where we had connected an AC source to the amplifier circuit through a capacitor, and we saw last time that the capacitor allows for this base voltage to be the sum of a DC voltage created by the 12 volts and the AC voltage which is applied at Vs through the capacitor. So we had derived this last time, and this is where we start. Now, one important note that as we discussed last time, it is possible to write this equation only because superposition is valid. Okay, we discussed this last time, so I'm going to leave it. So now let us see how to analyze this circuit. We have applied a voltage source here. We want to know what are the currents and voltages in this circuit with the presence of Vs. Now, because we are starting to learn to do AC analysis, this circuit itself is a little complicated. So let us start with the simplest possible circuit to learn to do AC analysis. And the simplest possible circuit is this circuit here. Now, of course, if you recall from maybe 2 lectures ago, we had said that this circuit is never ever connected in real life because you never ever connect a DC voltage source directly across a forward bias PN junction. But that is not our concern right now. This is more of a conceptual analysis rather than an actual circuit we'll build. So we'll live with this for now. Hopefully by the end of the lecture you'll see that what the purpose of this was. So let's assume that VB is 0.7, the DC VB is 0.7, RC is 6 kilo ohm, beta is 100. And let us assume, because we don't know, whereas we've discussed before, let us assume that when Vs is equal to 0, IB is equal to 10 microamps. This is an assumption, we live with it. Then we say IC is beta IB 1 milliamp and VO is 6 volts, so the transistor is placed in the active region. Now the question we want to ask is what are the currents and voltages in this circuit when Vs, an AC source, is applied, and we are assuming that the AC source has a small magnitude, say let's say 10 millivolts. So that is a question. This is our attempt to understand how to do AC analysis. Now let's think about this. We had a 0.7 volts. We've added a sinusoidal, let us say, of 10 millivolts. So 0.7 plus 0.01. The base emitter voltage will vary from 0.69 to 0.71 volts as the AC voltage varies. Now what is the current flowing in this base emitter junction? What is the base current flowing? The only way to answer this question is to use the diode equation. There is no other way to answer this question because of the way we've drawn this circuit. So we say, okay, this is the base current. Total base current, small I capital B, is some constant into exponential the total voltage across the base emitter junction divided by Vt, the thermal voltage, which is 25 millivolts at room temperature. So we can also write that if Vs is 0, which is the DC circuit, then IB, the capital I, capital B is IB0 exponential VB by Vt. And if we substitute this in the equation above here, then we can write the total IB equal to capital IB exponential Vs by Vt. Now note very importantly that it is not possible to write the total IB as the sum of a DC IB and an AC IB because there is an exponential here. There is no way of separating IB with whatever is appearing due to Vs. Therefore, superposition cannot be applied. We know it cannot be applied because a transistor is a nonlinear element. There is a big exponential here, and therefore we are just confirming by this equation that such a form cannot be applied. Alright, let's continue with the analysis. So we say, okay, we found IB. Let us find the output. We've defined the collector voltage as the output voltage. So the collector voltage is VCC, which is 12 volts minus RC IC is beta IB, and so we can say VCC minus RC beta IB. We put IB back here and we get this big expression. So we have derived an equation for the base current. Then the collector current is simply beta IB, and the collector voltage or the output voltage in the presence of Vs. So we've done what we started out to do, which is good, but actually it is not very good. The reason it is not good, first of all, is when we have an amplifier, one of the things we want to know, many things. One of the things we want to know is, well, what is the voltage gain of this amplifier? I have applied a small Vs at the input. I want to know VO by Vs. What is the quantity VO by Vs? But if I look at VO equal to all of this, I really don't know how to find VO by Vs. That is a difficulty. Probably not the most important difficulty, but nonetheless it is a difficulty. Okay, with that, let's think a little more. So let's say, okay, we did this for our simplest circuit. Now let us go back to our amplifier, which is what we wanted to do, is apply Vs here, and we want to see what is the voltage, let us say, at the collector due to the Vs, when the Vs is present. So we apply the same procedure to this circuit. So what we do is, we have already solved the circuit without Vs. Now the question we ask is, what are the currents in this circuit with Vs? Now you can imagine that this is going to be not easy, because there are going to be exponentials all over the place. I'm not sure if you did much of exponentials doing DC analysis before the midterm, but of course you can imagine that there are going to be exponentials while we try to solve. It is very complicated. Therefore, you do this as homework. I am not going to do it, but please do this as homework. Find the base current and the collector current and the collector voltage in the presence of Vs using the exponential. Okay. Now imagine a circuit that has many transistors. This is of course the simplest possible transistor circuit. It has only one transistor. As we progress, we will consider circuits that have many transistors. You think of an op-amp, it has like 10, 15, 20 transistors. Now, each transistor has an exponential. Now, how do we analyze a circuit that has so many transistors and each transistor has exponentials? It is extremely difficult. It is nearly impossible to do it on paper. Of course, you would argue that let the simulators do it. Why should we do it? We don't need to analyze them on paper. We'll do the analysis in simulation. And of course, simulators can do this very easily, and they actually do use exponentials in their analysis. But the point is that simulators can only analyze. We give it a circuit, it will tell us what the currents and voltages are. Simulators cannot design. If you are given if I want a circuit to achieve a certain collector current by choosing values of different resistances, so a simulator cannot do it. You remember, this is exactly what we did for a DC bias design. We were given the current and we were asked to design the resistance values to meet that current requirement. A simulator cannot do that. Of course, one can do it by trial and error, but that is crazy. That will take forever. Human beings are required to design circuits. Circuits cannot be designed by simulators. Of course, I should qualify. In fact, the world works on digital circuits, and practically all digital circuits are designed by software tools, by simulation tools. And therefore, this statement that humans are needed to design circuits is actually not correct for digital circuits, but it is very correct even today for analog circuits. An amplifier is an analog circuit because the signal, the input and output are analog signals, they are not digital. So as far as we are concerned in this course, for analog circuits, we need to learn to analyze circuits on paper, because otherwise we will never be able to design them. And this is what we need to learn. Alright, so we need to learn. So, but exponentials don't work. Therefore, we need to find a simpler method to do AC analysis. Now, such a method is called as small signal analysis. So, let us learn what small signal analysis is. So, again, we'll start with our simplest circuit. Same circuit we'll take, but now we'll take a different approach. Okay, same circuit, same everything, same circuit. We ask the same question, and we start with the diode equation. So this is the same equation, and we say the same IB is this, and then we substitute for this capital IB in this equation, and therefore we get small I capital B equal to capital IB into e raised to Vs by Vt. This till this point it is the same as before. Now we make the small signal approximation. We say let us assume that the input voltage magnitude, the Vs, which is a sinusoid, we say the magnitude of this input voltage divided by Vt is much less than 1. So actually I should have put a magnitude here because this is a time varying signal. So the amplitude of Vs is much less than Vt. Let us make this assumption. Alright, so Vt is 25 millivolts. So at room temperature, so we say let us assume that the amplitude of the input signal is much less than 25 millivolts, and see what approximations we can make if we make this assumption. So we use, I assume you know Taylor series expansion, and I assume you know that the Taylor series expansion of e raised to x is 1 plus x squared by 2 factorial plus x cubed by 3 factorial and so on. And therefore, if x is much less than 1, then the square and the cube terms will be very small, and therefore we can write e raised to x as approximately 1 plus x. I assume you've seen this before. So just think about it, just as an example. If x was 0.1, much less than 1, then this is 0.1, this is 0.1 squared, 0.0 by 2, which is 0.005. So 0.1 here, 0.005 here, this will be 0.0000 something. I don't know how much it is, but it is very small. So we can ignore these two terms and we can say e raised to x is approximately 1 plus x. Therefore, so let me just go back. So we have an e raised to Vs by Vt, and we are saying Vs by Vt is much less than 1. So we say e raised to Vs by Vt can be written approximately as 1 plus Vs by Vt. This is the most important aspect of doing small signal, well, making the small signal assumption that we are changing or converting an exponential function to a linear function. And this is what will allow us to simplify doing our AC analysis. Okay, so let us use this now in our base current equation. So this was our base current equation. Total base current, or small I, is capital IB e raised to Vs by Vt, and the e raised to Vs by Vt we say is approximately 1 plus Vs by Vt. So we write this out and we say IB plus IB into Vs by Vt. So we get this. Now we find the collector current. So collector current is of course simply beta times the base current. So we say beta times all of this. And so we write beta IB plus beta into IB by Vt Vs. And beta times capital IB is capital IC, the DC collector current. And this remains the same. And then from IC we can find the collector voltage. So the collector voltage is VCC minus RCIC. IC is this. So we substitute that here. VCC minus RC beta IB. VCC minus RC beta. Small I capital B is capital I capital B minus all this. And we recall, or in fact we can see it from here also, that if Vs is 0, then we get the DC value of VO. So capital VO is VCC minus RC beta IB. So we substitute, so this is capital VO, we substitute it here. So we write small v capital O equal to capital VO minus RC beta IB by VT Vs. So there, this is IB, this is IC, this is VO. So I'm going to write that again here because this is very important. So we write the three equations again. Same equations, no? Yeah. So we say IB is approximately capital IB plus something, and we say this is equal to capital IB plus small ib. So this is clearly the current that is flowing, the additional current that is flowing due to the AC signal, and therefore we call this small ib. And similarly for IC, similarly for VO. This plus or minus sign is could be either one, depends on how we define the small VO. So these three equations have very important properties. Two. First, the total current or voltage in the circuit, any current or any voltage, can be written as the sum of the current only due to the DC and the current due to the AC. This is a statement of superposition. Number one. Number two, we are able to write the current, the base small I small b, which is a current flowing due to the AC signal applied, as a linear function of the input voltage. Current as a function of voltage, linear. Output voltage as a function of the input voltage. So the current voltage relationships for the small signal are linear. Of course, this is a consequence of our making the small signal approximation. Alright. So what we are saying, in other words, is that in this special case of small AC signals, we can apply a particular form of superposition to this transistor circuit, even though the circuit is nonlinear, because the transistor is a nonlinear circuit element. Why is it particular? So let us describe it. Describe this superposition method. So here is what we are doing. First, we solve the circuit with only the DC supplies, only the DC input supplied. We remove the Vs, we remove the AC signal, we solve the circuit. When we solve this circuit, we do include the nonlinear characteristics of the transistors. This we did. So let me go back to that. Where is that circuit? Not this circuit. This circuit. When we solved this circuit, and you have solved many such circuits before the midterm also, you are very good at solving. Without the AC, when we solved this circuit without the AC, we did not assume linearity. We assumed the transistor to be a nonlinear circuit element, and we solved the circuit. You agree? You have to think back about how the nonlinearity was used when you are solving DC circuits. Okay, you think back. This is very important to realize and understand that while solving DC circuits, we had not assumed the transistor to be a linear circuit element. Please think about it. Very, very important. Okay, so go back here. Okay, so first we solve the DC circuit including the nonlinearity of a transistor. First. Second, we remove all the DC sources, apply only the AC source. Number one. Number two, we use a linearized transistor characteristics and solve the circuit. So that is what, this is an implication of the mathematics here. This is the mathematics of that statement. IB is caused by only Vs. There is only Vs here. And we assume this to be a constant while solving for IB and Vs. Yeah, so we are solving only AC number one, and number two, we are using this linearized relation between the current and the voltage. And then we get the total current and voltage in the circuit by adding the DC and the AC. So this is how, this is a particular form of superposition, and this is what allows us to solve and analyze transistor amplifier circuits in the presence of AC signals. What? The small signal approximation. Okay, so to illustrate this, let us apply this method. The best way to learn this is to illustrate it. Or actually, before we illustrate, we'll do one more thing. Okay, so let us formalize the linearization of transistor characteristics. So again, let me go back. So this is IB is, small ib is capital IB by Vt into Vs. So there is a capital IB by Vt here. So what we'll say is, let us define a quantity. We are defining a new quantity. That was IB by Vt. We are defining it as Vt by IB because we want a resistance here, so voltage by current. So we say there is this quantity called R pi with Cy pi equal to Vt by IB. And then we can write, so IB was IB by Vt into Vs. So we say that is equal to Vs divided by R pi. IB is Vs divided by R pi. And IC is simply beta IB. This of course is always valid as long as the transistor is in the active region. By the way, we are assuming throughout this analysis that the transistor is in the active region. So now we have a linearized relationship between the current and the voltage for small signals. And we can use this relationship to solve the AC circuit. But in solving circuits, it is always easier if we convert equations to circuit elements, because once we do that, all we have to deal with are circuits and not worry about element equations. So we say, well, let's convert this and these to circuit elements. So IB is, Vs is of course the base voltage. In fact, to be more specific, this is a base emitter voltage. So the base current is equal to the base emitter voltage divided by R pi, and the collector current is a constant times the base current. So the way we represent that in circuits is, this is what we do. So this is a transistor. So for AC, doing AC analysis, we'll place a resistor R pi between the base and the emitter. So now what we get? IB is equal to the base emitter voltage divided by R pi, which satisfies that first equation. The current here is the collector current, and we simply put a current dependent current source. So the collector current is of course now equal to beta times IB. So this becomes our linearized representation of the transistor for small AC signals applied to the circuit. So let's go back. So when we do this part 2, we'll solve the DC circuit first. To solve the AC circuit, we'll zero all the DC sources and we'll replace the transistor by its linearized equivalent circuit, which is this. Alright, and this, by the way, is the same circuit. It is just drawn differently, because you look at any textbook in the world, they'll draw it like this. The same thing, just instead of kind of a resistor at an incline, it is drawn vertically. And this circuit is called the hybrid pi circuit, this equivalent circuit. Pi because this looks like an inverted pi. Alright, this is the pi, this is inverted pi. Hybrid comes from something called H parameters, which comes from two-port network theory. It is not really relevant for us right now, so we'll not discuss why it is called hybrid. Just remember, just a name. This is a hybrid pi equivalent circuit. Incidentally, here is a practical use of where a dependent source finds use in an actual circuit. Okay, last semester when we discussed dependent sources, we didn't really talk about where, how, etc. But here is one example of using dependent sources. It allows us to represent the current in the collector as a function of a current flowing somewhere else, which is exactly what happens in a bipolar transistor. Okay. So with this, now we illustrate using this method to our actual circuit. So we started out this lecture by saying, well, what are the currents and voltages flowing in this circuit when Vs is present. So we go through the 3 steps. Actually, we'll just go through the first 2 steps in this lecture. First step, solve DC. Second step, solve AC. So step 1, we say solve the circuit with only DC voltages. So we are applying superposition first with only DC. So we short the Vs. This becomes 0. The capacitor for DC is an open circuit. So this basically goes away. The Vs goes away, the capacitor goes away, and all we are left with is the circuit that we have analyzed in great detail. Actually analyzed, designed both. So we'll not, there is no need for us to analyze it now because we've already done it before. So we already know the answer to step 1. We'll just write the answer here. So the base voltage is 4 volts, base current 10 microamps, 1 milliamp. IE is almost 1 milliamp. It is actually 1.01, but it's okay. And the voltages. Alright, so this is step 1. For step 2, what we say is we'll remove the DC voltage. So we'll short this. So this node will become ground. And we'll replace the transistor with its small signal equivalent circuit. So this is what the circuit would look like. Vs, this is 0, and the transistor is replaced by the hybrid pi equivalent circuit. So in R pi, between the base and emitter, a current source, a dependent current source, beta IB, where IB is this current. And now we need to solve this circuit. Now, of course, this is we've seen many such circuits last semester. So it's a straightforward circuit to solve. So let us solve it. So let's first kind of look at it. So there are actually 3 nodes here, 1, 2, 3. We could do nodal or mesh, but generally, overall, it is always easier to do nodal analysis in all these transistor circuits. You could attempt mesh here if you want, but I prefer nodal, and I'll tell you for this one specifically why. Because although there are 3 nodes, this node voltage is already known. So VB is simply Vs. So we left it 2 nodes. This node, there is a current source and a resistor. So this node voltage actually can be written very straightforward because you know the current flowing through this resistor. So that's what we do here. So is a VB is Vs. VC, this voltage is minus RC times IC. RC is, by the way, this resistor 6K, and IC is beta IB. So you get minus RC beta IB. And we'll leave it at that. We'll come back to this. So we really need to write only one nodal equation, add VE, and we'll solve it and we'll get everything else. So it's done here. So 3 currents, sum of 3 currents equal to 0, and for once I'm taking the current flowing into the node as positive. So VB minus VE by R pi, VB minus VE by R pi, plus beta times that same current equal to the current flowing out, VE by RE. So this is RE. But I'm using variables because these are general equations that we'll derive which have a long-term value. So rather than putting numericals, I'm using variables. Okay, so we get this, and this is easy to solve. So we get for VE, we solve this, we get 1 plus beta RE by 1 plus beta RE plus R pi into Vs. So we found the emitter voltage in terms of the signal source voltage. And then we know that IB is this, IB is VB minus VE by R pi, VB is Vs, VE we found. So we can find IB in terms of Vs, so we get this. And then we can find VC in terms of Vs. VC is minus beta RC into IB. So minus beta RC into all this. Okay. So we've got both these voltages in terms of the input source voltage. So we have solved this circuit and found the output. There are two possible output voltages here, both of them in terms of Vs. So we could write these as gains. So we say VE by Vs, same expression, I'm just taking the Vs on the other side. So you get VE by Vs equal to this. I'm sorry, this is V by Vs, this is Vc by Vs equal to this. Now let us put numbers because we already know we've solved the DC circuit. By the way, it is one must remember that in order to find the values, the numbers for the AC, we'll need the numbers from the DC because R pi is by definition Vt by Ib, and this is a DC current that is flowing. So if this DC current is different, R pi will be different. So our DC current was 10 microamps, so we get 2.5 kilo ohms. We know Re already 3.3, Rc is 6, beta is 100. So we find the values Vc by Vs equal to, if you solve this, you'll get about minus 1.8. Vc by Vs approximately 1. So you can see this from here. Oh, I'm sorry, this is written, this is VE by Vs. Well, maybe I should. Okay, let me do this here. It is important enough that I should change it. This is VE. Okay. So VE by Vs is approximately 1. So you can see this here. VE by Vs is this is 100 times Re, which is 330 by 330 plus 2.5. So the R pi is small, so you can ignore the R pi and you basically end up with unity here. Here, if you think about it, again we can ignore the R pi in the denominator and then beta 1 plus beta cancel. So we'll get approximately minus Rc by Re, which turns out to be minus 1.8. So we've solved the circuit. We found the voltage gains at the two nodes of the transistor, collector and emitter. Unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, it so turns out that these numbers are very small. We started out making an amplifier and the gain we've got a magnitude of only 1.8, which is really nothing. So anyway, this is okay, we'll figure this out. What we wanted to do was to learn how to analyze circuits when an AC voltage is present, and now we've learned it. So in the next class, we'll learn how, or we'll see what we can do to this circuit to get very nice high gains. So for now, this is the end of this lecture. All right.